I have come here to chew bubblegum and
rank.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
What is up? We are all out of bubblegum here on Adjust the Ranks. I am Jeremy Schulman at FF_Rebel. I almost forgot it because I don't have it listed below. I'll have to throw that up in a second. Today we are joined by, if I'm pointing in the right direction, Jamie Perog at Jamie Perog, just right on Twitter. Of course, Big Game Dynasty. Let's see if I can actually do something. Let's see. Can I get it? Nope. I do not have the skills to figure this out. Oh, wait. Hey, I got one. I put you on the spot, Jamie. We're firing on all cylinders here. We forgot our bubble gum. Of course, Roddy Ryder Piper is going to help us out. We're trying to kick ass in the Scott Fish Bowl, just like everybody else. Scott Fish Bowl Podathon is going on right now. Jeff Lambert over there on the show. So definitely check that out, but maybe in a few minutes after this show with Jamie. Jamie, what is going on? Thanks for joining the show, man.
Man, I love being on this side of the screen. I'm always in your chats, watching your shows every time you go live. So this is a treat for me. I appreciate you inviting me on the show today.
Of course, man, had to have you on. And unfortunately, I can't return the favor because in Amsterdam, when you're on at like 9 p.m. or whatever it is, it's like 3 a.m. So I'm going to have to stay up late and get on those shows during football season because it's the only time I end up staying up that late. But I do it routinely, so family be damned, unfortunately. But you got to do what you got to do for the love of football. So welcome in today. We are doing a Scott Fish Bowl mock draft. We're doing it 12 rounds, so we're not going to go the full length, but we'll do it for an hour here with Jamie. We'll talk you through some of our strategies, how we're going to approach the draft, what we're thinking, and then we've got a full draft room of live drafters here with us. So feel free, if you are in the chat or if you are joining us, just, feel free to drop in, tell us how it's going. Feel free to snipe us if you're in the draft, and then we'll go through it at the end. So first, Jamie, I have to ask you, as my lovely technology abilities here, will throw up the scoring. So you see the scoring here. The biggest thing that we need to consider are the rushing and receiving first downs, 1 full point for those. Of course, it's also 6 points per passing touchdown. So those two things really level out. There's not really an advantage between a passing quarterback and a running quarterback anymore, especially when you're talking about a guy like Justin Fields. Then, of course, you get the 0.5 points per carry. So that, again, helps those rushing quarterbacks, but it does level it out. But really, the thing that I'm interested in, 2.5 points per reception and 3.5 points per reception for the tight end position. Super interesting to me. We have the IDP points, which is really just the Travis Hunter rule as we're thinking about it. And then, of course, we are position agnostic. We have a super flex lineup, but nine flex spots to think about between running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So with all of this being said, Jamie, I know you are at the 107. What are you thinking of in the first couple of rounds? How are you hoping the draft plays out, or how are you looking to approach it?
I'm just going best player available because if you don't like tight ends, you don't have to start them, right? But with the tight ends, I know they do get a bump. But for guys like Bowers and McBride, they get 5+ points boost. But if he drops off fast, because
it does.
Look at last year, tight end 12 was Jake Ferguson, right?
Yeah.
He had 59 catches in the 18 games he played. So that is only 3.3 points per game added. So it doesn't boost the guys, in my opinion, except for the top tier guys like McBride, Kittle, Bowers, people like that.
Yeah.
So if McBride falls to me in the real Scott Fish Bowl draft, I might take him because I'm at the 7th spot. I believe in this format, he was a top 7 scorer last year.
Yeah.
I'm also hoping one of the top end running backs fall, like Bijan. I don't know. I think I might skip over Gibbs, but someone like, let's see, we got Bijan, Barkley. I even think Kamara could be a sneaky first round pick.
Sure. Yeah, I have seen it. I have seen it before. I think Kamara was top 12 in this format last year as well. the format, whatever the format was last year. So Kamara is interesting as well. Remember, of course, Scott Fishbowl is redraft, so we need to take off our dynasty hats. Kamara is dead to me in dynasty, unfortunately, but he's still got that value for this year, no doubt. All right, we got Ridaris. I hope I'm saying that correct. Chambers at the 111. See if I take anything you wanted in front of me. I am at the 112 too, so start to steal your spot. But of course, we'll see how often you are sniping me throughout. I agree with you. The one thing I'll add to the point about tight ends is, yes, the top end tight ends, you want them. I would throw Kittle in that mix. I think outside of Kittle, it's still a bit up in the air in San Francisco, and I do believe in Purdy and Kyle and not Kyle. Is it Kyle Shanahan? I'm getting my Shanahans mixed up. It is Kyle Shanahan over there. But of course, those middle tight ends we are terrible at figuring out who tight ends like 5 through 12 are historically. So I agree with you. Let's, throw out those tight ends, but let's look at tight ends, who are later. Maybe some of these rookies could be interesting, and we can get them at a value late in the draft. I think I'm going to end up with guys like Zach Ertz, who's going, tight end 18, 20, 22 at this point, because if those guys blow up and they just have ridiculous tight end regression or TD regression happen to them, you get them at a value and you get those big bumps. So I think I'll take a lot of shots on those guys later, but agree with you. Those middle round guys are probably not going to find their way into my roster.
Yeah, I think Ertz is really undervalued. Last year, he was tight end 7, I believe, in regular formats. I don't know about this one, but going outside the top 20, that's insane.
Absolutely crazy. And the last thing I'll add is I was going through the tight end list of this scoring, this Scott Fishbowl 15 scoring for last year's production. And it was stupid. Like guys like Tucker Kraft, who you're like, okay, he had a fine season, right? Mike Gesicki, who you may not have realized had over 600 receiving yards. He had a fine season. But those guys are outscoring receivers like Rashad Bateman, who had 12 touchdowns, or, Josh Downs, who had a couple of good games throughout the course of the season. So the tight end bump is really interesting to me if you can hit on a guy like a Jonnu Smith, who kind of comes out of nowhere, gets that incredible draft ADP value, and then skyrockets in production. So that's what I'm going to look to do this season. I'm just going to smash that tight end button in the late round. So we'll see how that goes. Outside of tight end, you mentioned the running back. There's a big focus on running back for a lot of people this year. It's also pushing quarterback down. So the last thing we'll talk about here before we get into it is, what are you thinking about your quarterback strategy? I think a lot of people want to wait, especially in QB2. I'm thinking that's where I'm going to go, but I want to get a quarterback right away. For example, if Lamar or Josh Allen falls to me at the 112, I've seen it happen. I'm going to smash those guys. What are you thinking about quarterback and running back?
So under the Scott Fishbowl 15 scoring, only 18 quarterbacks cracked the top 100 players last year.
Crazy.
So don't feel that you need to lock in that position. I know we can start 2 of them because it's technically super flex, but guys like those dual threat guys, they'll still smash. But the mid-tier people, especially like the non-rushing guys, those are going to be replaceable. So Joe Burrow, for example, is projected to score less than someone like a Tony Pollard.
Crazy.
So I'm not going to reach on Joe Burrow in the 2nd, 3rd round when I can get Tony Pollard a couple rounds later.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely the way to go. But like you mentioned, there's all of those guys who are running dual threat guys. Justin Fields is going to get a crazy bump here, especially in this redraft format. So it's super interesting. But you brought up an interesting point. One quarterback, locking in that potential rushing quarterback, and then maybe you're just playing a position player, especially with injuries in the super flex spot. Maybe that's not nearly as bad of a situation as you would think of it normally given the scoring. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's fire it up. Let me just tell the chat that we are going to do that. Let's see. And all starting now. All right. And of course, my podcasting skills of speaking what I'm typing as I type it, top notch. Only the best here, Jamie. Let's fire this up. All right. So again, we're going 12 rounds here, 60 seconds per pick. So in your SFB draft, you will obviously have more time. But of course, we expect to see the running backs go. We expect to see Bowers and McBride potentially before the 107. Otherwise, you're going to have an interesting selection here. And let's see, Bijan is almost the consensus 101. Jamie, if you're picking at the 101, are you going Bijan? Are you locking in a top QB like the second pick overall? I can't read his full username here. Or are you thinking something else like Brock Bowers potentially?
I wouldn't consider a QB unless I was at the 112.
Yep.
Well, maybe 111. So I think there's only one quarterback last year that hit the top 12 in this format, and it was Lamar Jackson. So if I can get Lamar Jackson that late, if I had the 101, I would go Bijan, hands down Bijan.
Yeah, I think it's a good selection. Bijan Robinson, I think, is the clear-cut 101 in a lot of people's eyes in this format. Brock Bowers, I've seen him go 101 more often than not. I do not hate it. But I've also seen people say, well, maybe Brock Bowers takes a little bit of a hit. They brought in receiving, and not much, but they brought in receivers via the draft. Of course, Jacoby Myers is there. They brought Ashton Genty. He's going to take some in the receiving game, but certainly they're going to pound it on the ground with him. So maybe Bowers slightly is needed a little bit less, and maybe that allows Trey McBride to overtake him. I think you can probably flip-flop those guys in your rankings, and I wouldn't really care. What do you think about those two?
Yeah, I would actually take McBride over Bowers, I believe, just because he is going to get more of the volume. You said with Genty, Genty's going to get a lot of the rushes, so they can rush more, and I'm on the clock. But also, Genty can be viable in the passing game.
Yeah, I love that. We'll let you pick. We'll take a look at a few of these. Oh, sorry, I don't even have this. Look at this. Ridiculous. What am I doing here? Add this to the stage, please. Here we go. Here's what our draft is looking at. Holy cow. But as Jamie picks here, and he went with Trey McBride, excellent. We'll talk about it in a second. You see Chelsea says Josh Allen, 542 points in this scoring format based on last year's production. Jacobs 572, especially with all those touchdowns in Green Bay and all those touches in Green Bay. So you certainly want to kind of make sure that you are attempting to get a hold of that running back production and volume. The problem I have with running back, it's always the problem that I have for running back, Jamie, is the fact that these guys get hurt. And last year we had an extraordinarily healthy running back season. So that's really my only issue. Of course, Chelsea, yes, that's last year's production with this year's scoring. We got to think about that and consider that. Everybody was healthy last year. That's not going to happen this year. Who's going to get hurt? I don't know. Should we draft scared? No. But what are you thinking about, maybe there's safety outside of running back in the first round?
Yeah. Volume is king, though. So as long as they are healthy, like you said, don't play scared. You can't predict injuries. Even the receivers are going to be on the field. They can get injured too. So I'm not playing to say, oh, this guy might get injured, so I'm going to skip him. No, I want the volume. Volume is king, especially at the running back position.
Yeah, and I can't argue with that at all. You see Ashton Genty go. So let's recap the top 10 as Radir gets ready to snipe me at the 111 with whatever he's going to do. So we got Bijan, Josh Allen, Brock Bowers, Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, Jahmyr Gibbs, Trey McBride, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Ashton Genty, and I was in fact sniped with Jaden Daniels. That's the last guy that I want, the rushing quarterback. And as you mentioned, Joe Burrow is here on the clock. I can't do it. Justin Jefferson is there. I really struggled to take Justin Jefferson over CD Lamb in redraft formats. So I am going to take CD Lamb, but I have two picks here. And of course, we're position agnostic, right? I don't need to take a running back, especially in this case. If I scroll down the list, we're not even seeing any running backs here. Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry are super interesting, and I can definitely take either one of them. I'll consider it as I pick Lamb, but Jefferson or even Malik Neighbors is super intriguing here. What are you thinking about Justin Jefferson versus Christian McCaffrey as I take Christian McCaffrey just to see how the build goes? What do you think between a high-end wide receiver in this format and a high-end guy like Christian McCaffrey who also catches the ball?
I mean, if it wasn't Christian McCaffrey, I would say go the running back, but it's because I know he's healthy, right? Yeah. But he's 29 years old.
He is.
He's going to be declining. It's going to be a different type of offense. They've lost some pieces, and they have Garendo behind them. So who's to say that they don't give McCaffrey as many carries, and then they kind of slide Garendo in, and they just drafted another rookie.
Yep.
I think they might want to keep CMC healthy. So I'm staying away from CMC. Even when he was going in the back end of the second round and
Yep.
best ball leagues, I still wasn't taking him there.
Okay.
I'm scared of him.
Yeah.
I've been burned by him before, and it's just one of those players where I don't want anything to do with.
I agree with you, and I am rising on him. I don't have any Christian McCaffrey in any of my leagues thus far, but I would definitely take him here over a guy like Derrick Henry, just because I do believe in that offense as long as they are healthy. But yeah, it's really hard for me to not go CD Justin Jefferson if all those quarterbacks are off the board. Ideally, I would have had Jaden Daniels in my pick of CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, but it was really interesting to see Jaden Daniels get taken. 10 times out of 10, maybe I'll take Justin Jefferson here. We'll see. But he goes to the 205. I'll recap, Jamie, as you make your next selection here in the second round. Christian McCaffrey at the 201, Derrick Henry at the 202, the neighbors, Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson. We've had a couple auto picks, so we did have Hurts and Burrow go off the board. Quarterback. I do not think you're going to see that. So something to consider there. But Jamie was just telling me how much he hates Christian McCaffrey, and he picked Christian McCaffrey slight light in Alvin Kamara. Talk to me about why Kamara is different, especially with Tyler, what the shuck, behind center there. What are they doing in New Orleans? But, you got to love Kamara.
I'm hoping that the Saints realize that they are in a rebuild. They
are.
need CMC. They need to trade him. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But if he doesn't, I'm still thinking he is the only player in that offense that is going to get massive volume. He's a great pass catcher, one of the best in the league that we've seen in a long time. So he's going to get those catch points. He's going to get the first down points. He's going to get the touchdowns. So I couldn't pass him up. Like I said, last year he was I think he was ranked 4th in this scoring format overall. Yeah. So getting him in the second round, I love it.
Yeah, I can't argue that, especially I think a lot of people have Devon Achane as one of the highest flyers at the running back position. I'm not ready to buy. I mean, look, moving Jonnu helps his case, but I'm not ready to buy in the fact that Devon Achane is a locked-in top 4, top 5 running back for this season. Love him in Dynasty. He's super explosive. He's great. I'm happy with Jonathan Taylor over him in general. Alvin Kamara, you can convince me, and I think I am convinced. I'm going to do this.
Taylor would have been my pick if I skipped Kamara. I would have went Jonathan Taylor.
I think that's fair. I'm going to do this just because I have done it before, and we're going to see how this plays out. I'm going to take Travis Hunter here at the 301. I think it's super interesting. Look, I do not think that Travis Hunter is going to be 100% play snaps every single game on both sides of football. I do not see Travis Hunter pick-sixing his way to glory every single game. At the same time, it's super intriguing because I think it's something like, here, let me throw it up again since we're talking about Hunter, and then I'll get to some of these comments. But let's just have a look for the Travis Hunter IDP stats. We don't expect him to get too many sacks or safeties, certainly, but just for catching an interception, that's 6 points. So let's say he picks the ball, 4 or 5 times in the season. He's got 6 points there. Forced fumble, 3 points. Fumble recovery, 2 points per tackle, 1 point per assisted tackle, 1 point per pass defended. So it's not that he's going to go nuclear on the defensive end, but if you can add, 6, maybe, let's see, 4 to 6 points a game on top of a pretty decent receiving, average for a rookie, you have the potential for a guy who could be, a top 12, top 15, top 20 player for sure. And you're getting him easily in the 3rd round and potentially later. What do you think about Hunter? Is he on your board? Are you staying away from him? And where would you feel comfortable taking him?
I think I'm going to stay away from him because, the scoring with the IDP, it just affects Travis Hunter. Like these settings with the IDP, even it rewards volume, right? And it hurts someone like a shutdown corner, which he might be. It also hurts part-timers on the offense, which he might be. So he does deserve a boost, but snap percentage is key. Like if the Jags are up big, they'll likely rest him on defense, right?
Yeah. Fair.
If they're trailing, he might see more DB snaps and lock down a receiver. So it just seems too volatile to me.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a big headache, and I don't want to deal with it. But if he fell to me in the 4th round, I might consider him in the 4th.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And it's kind of like the Rashid Shaheed argument from a year ago. He was being drafted so high, sometimes the 101 here and there. But of course, Shaheed got hurt, so it became a moot point last year with the return yards. But these types of guys who have this game break ability, it's really interesting. If Travis Hunter does have, 5 interceptions on the season, let's pretend they're in 5 different games. Well, that's a really interesting, that's at least 6 points for you added to whatever he's able to do on the offensive side of the ball. Now, that being said, is he playing 50% of the snaps on the offensive side of the ball? Is he more 30% guy? Is he game plan dependent? All of those things are possible. So like you said, the volatility is there. And maybe it's not necessarily baked into his cost, especially in the 3rd round, but sites like the Football Guys have Travis Hunter as the 7th overall player in the Scott Fish Bowl. So there are people who are very high on him and what he can do. And of course, the Jags offense is completely rebuilt. So we'll see what happens there. But I agree with you. Maybe the 301 is a little too spicy. Let's recap what happened in the 3rd round, and then we'll talk about your pick here. So Hunter at the 301, 302 for Kittle, Chase Brown, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. Jamie, you went with Kyron. Then we had James Cook, Drake London, Justin Fields, which I think is more than appropriate at the 309, even though you could probably wait on him. Chuba, Kenneth Walker, and Breece Hall. And then really that's the 3rd round. So let's talk a little bit about Kyron going again with heavy volume at the running back position.
Yeah, so Kyron, I hate Kyron Williams. He's my nemesis. Not a fan of him, never been. Every time that I bet his touchdown last year, it didn't happen. So I just stopped betting his touchdowns. So,
yeah.
But no, he is going to get the volume, like 70, 80, not even 90% of the touches. I know they got Jacquez Hunter, but it's a 4th round pick. I think they just took him to maybe at the end of the season kind of keep Kyron fresh for the playoffs, because I believe the Rams are going to win their division and make the playoffs.
Yep.
And the touchdown volume, the first downs, like they're just going to smash with Kyron. They got Stafford. He's an immobile quarterback. So they just check down the Kyron if he needs to. And I've been taking him a lot in Scott Fish Bowl and in my best ball leagues in the 3rd round. Sometimes he falls to the 4th, and I'll smash him all day, even though I hate him. I just think he's a value. I don't hate players. I hate their ADP, but I got to say I do hate Kyron.
Yeah, I'm with all of that as you make your selection here, and we'll talk about Nick's. But Kyron Williams, just to put a bow on that, 2 years of starting potential. In the last 2, of course, as a rookie, McVay and the Rams seem to hate rookies. But 2 years ago, he was the PPR running back 7. Last year was the PPR running back 7 on the back of 12, and then 14 touchdowns. He's going to get the heavy volume. At least 316 attempts last year is absolutely nuts. And then, of course, another 40 targets in the receiving game. So Kyron with double-digit touchdowns is going to be a menace. Who didn't take over the backfield last year was Blake Corum. Who's probably not going to take over the backfield this year, as you referenced, probably Jacquez Hunter. So super good pick there. I love it. And we'll talk about Bo Nix in a second as I make my selection and search.
Another thing about Kyron is he's on the last year contract. So what they do is they run those running backs into the ground. And McVay doesn't really re-sign running backs at all. So I think they're going to use him a lot this year.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that is the case as well. I'm going to end up taking a quarterback, and I'm just deciding between being a homer or not, and I will not be a homer. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray and try and bank on the upside of his rushing ability. Maybe he wasn't healthy. Maybe he can figure it out. He's not a good quarterback. He is a good fantasy quarterback, and we'll see if he can get the ball more accurately to Mr. Marvin Harrison and let him do his thing. I have the opportunity to stack with Marv, but I do not trust the volume there. As we've been talking about, volume is king. There are a lot of really interesting wide receivers still on the board. There's a few running backs here. I'm gonna push running back one more time, and I'm gonna go with a guy who I absolutely love in redraft formats in Devontae Adams. He's far too low in the ADP list, and I just think he's going to get absolutely peppered with targets. It's impossible, barring health, that Devontae Adams isn't going to be, on par with what I think Drake London can do for this season. What are you thinking about Adams, and then maybe Kyler, and then we'll dip into what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm on the clock here real quick. I'm just gonna make my pick real quick.
Yeah. So, well, let's switch gears. You make your pick, and I'm going to just run through a couple of comments here. Chelsea says CMC Henry is a smash. Should have went the 2 running backs there. A lot of people love that. Henry outscored JJ by 75 in this format last year. Of course, we know the situation there. Neighbors, of course, those high-end guys. Look, you want volume, position agnostic, but you want heavy touches if you can. 0.5 per rush is awesome. Bucky is interesting here. There is some discussion here about the 3rd round reversal. It is a 3rd round reversal. They were thinking about it not being, but that is the case now. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, we have the idea of Kenneth Walker, which we'll get to in a minute, Chelsea. Why don't you take us through, Jamie, your selection here of Bo Nix and then Travis Kelce, who fell very far.
Yeah, so Bo Nix, he's got that rushing upside. That's what we talked about earlier. Rushing's king. Plus the passing, I think they're going to pass more this year.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't pass him up because I saw Fields go. I usually go after Fields, but he was gone. So I went with my backup. Kelce, dude was still a top 5 tight end last year on a down year, right? Yeah. He is focusing more on football this offseason rather than his boyfriend, Taylor Swift. I think he wants to go out on a high note. So he is going to do everything he can to get back up into that top tier tight end. And I think him and Patrick Mahomes are just going to eat again, just like they did in the past.
Yeah.
But you're Devontae Adams. I love that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Totally underrated. He's going under the radar, maybe because of his age. I don't know. But you got to remember, you get the first down points, right? I know Adams is more of that deep threat guy, but when he gets those touchdowns, if it's past 10 yards, you're going to get that point for the first down on top of the catch and the touchdown.
Right.
Like people don't realize that you also get the first down point if it's over a 10-yard pass.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. So that's definitely consideration. And look, like you mentioned with Travis Kelce, you see TJ Hawkinson go 2 spots after him. That's really the most interesting thing, is that Travis Kelce, he was injured last year, here and there. He did, they had a lot of issues in Kansas City, especially with that offensive line. And it did look like Kelce lost a step, but I think you're going to see here pretty quickly that it was more based on the injury than it was on his, waning ability. So I think Kelce is a smash, especially at that price. Last 5 years, you would have had to take Travis Kelce in the 1st round. Now you can get him easily in the 5th round, as you can see there. And then, of course, Bo Nix, any of these rushing guys who can also do what Bo Nix was able to do last year. I think it was something like 26 touchdown passes. He might have more. He might have had 29 or 30. I'll have to check that out. But, he's certainly got the ability to hit 30 touchdown passes. They added Evan Ingram, and I love that. And he's a target for me later on. In fact, I have no issue with Evan Ingram in this range. But he does, I think I've gotten him a couple of times at the 8-12. So that's a consideration as well. There's a bunch of tight ends that I'm going to be looking at soon. We see a couple of guys here with double quarterbacks. We've got 2 of the auto picks have their 2 quarterbacks, but the Jasonator has Justin Fields and Baker Mayfield. Really interesting values there on those guys, backing it up with David Njoku. So I do not mind the quarterback value here What are you thinking about your second quarterback? Are you looking at them here, or are you just going to keep pushing down the board and wait for value to fall in your lap?
All right, I'm looking to see what quarterbacks are available, and yeah, I don't see much value. There's one guy that I really do like, and we'll see if he falls, or there's a receiver I might take. Someone similar to a Devontae Adams type that I think is going to get some long balls, touchdowns. Obviously, he's going to get over 1,000 yards.
Yep. I think I know who you're taking, actually.
Yeah.
When you say that. And
All right,
you might have the opportunity. Who you got?
So I'm on the clock, and I'm going to go Mike Evans.
Nice. Love that.
You can't go wrong. I know they added Ibuka, right? But Ibuka is not going to affect Evans. If anything, it's going to affect Chris Godwin or McMillan.
Yep.
So I just see Evans having a huge year again. Definitely going to get 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns possibly. And in this format, I'll take that in the what round are we in? 6th round. I'll take that.
Yeah.
McLaurin, the guy I was thinking, but I know he's having those contract issues. So I like to stay away until I'm 100% sure what's happening.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. In fact, it just came out that today that McLaurin was a guy who, is unhappy, and they're not super sure what his situation is going to look like. I'm trying to look for some of these rookie running backs here. But yeah, Hampton obviously gone, Judkins and Trevion all in the 4th. Caleb Johnson is a steal here at the 6'11". So
he was
absolutely
in consideration for me.
Absolutely crushing me with that pick. I'm going to go ahead and pick a guy I hate, but the volume should be there if we believe the new coach and Liam Cohen is Travis Etienne.
Good pick.
He's the guy that should be getting, should be the beneficiary there. I really like Tank Bigsby. I think he's a good runner in between the tackles. I really like LaQuint Allen, but of course the other guy was drafted ahead of him. Help me out, rookie.
Rashawn.
Yeah. Bashal Tootin. Really like all those guys, but none of those guys are going to be the workhorse that Travis Etienne has already been. We're hoping those guys break out and, lead a committee. Travis Etienne has proven he can be a workhorse. He's done it before. All he needs to do is stay healthy. So I'm happy with that pick. And then I'm on the clock here, and I have to find volume.
Yeah, it's looking thin.
Well, this is the other thing I'm going to do. I'm going to push tie down the board. Again, kind of stay away from these middle range guy. And I'm going to take a explosive guy. It's between two for me, but one of them is Jameson Williams. I think he's absolutely going to dominate. He does not need the volume to get you 120 yards and 2 touchdowns on any given week. But then Evan Ingram goes right after. Evan Ingram is probably the other guy, or the guy I should have taken instead of JMO. But I'm really happy with Jameson Williams and what he can do just from an explosion perspective. For me, he's Devon Achane. He's James Cook. You hope he gets in the end zone double-digit times, which he should be able to do with his explosiveness there. So I'm happy with those 2 picks. And you are on the clock as I'll just recap what we're looking at here, and then we'll get into your pick. In the 6th round, we had Tyler Warren, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, David Njoku, Aaron Jones, Drake May, your selection of Mike Evans, then Terry McLaurin right after that, DK Metcalf, Isaiah Pacheco, Caleb Johnson, Travis Etienne, an interesting collection of backs. And then we followed it up in the 7th with JMO, Evan Ingram, JJ McCarthy. Love that pick. Super underrated in my view, at least with what he can do in fantasy. We'll see if he can do it in reality. Tet McMillan, Devonta Smith. And now, Jamie, it is up to you at the 7:06.
I was going to go after McCarthy. That was my pick.
Yeah.
So I got sniped. And there's 2 players that I'm looking at. I just don't know which one to pick. I already have 2 tight ends. But
who cares?
Mark Andrews, man.
Do it.
You have to look at the fact that he got hit by a car 2 weeks before the season started.
Yep.
And he was dealing with that injury the first, 8-9 weeks. But when he came back, he was a top 5, top 4 tight end the rest of the season. Overall, I think he still ended up in the top 10, even with those massive, huge zeros that he got in the beginning of the season. So I'm going to take a chance on it. Just looking who's left I just don't see anyone else I like. Plus, you get the tight ends get the boost. And if he's the top 5 tight end, getting him this late, I mean, I could have essentially 3 top 5 tight ends on my team with McBride, Kelsey, Andrews.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, like Andrews is the way to go for me, because as I repost this on Twitter, simply because, like you said, he wasn't there in the first half of the year, didn't really wow you in terms of his production, but from when he got healthy, which appears to be, I think, roughly week 7. It was certainly the second half of the season. Let me pull up his game logs
Sure, it was
here.
like week 8. That's when he started coming around.
Yeah, the high level of efficiency was absolutely insane. Let's see if Sleeper cooperates or if my fat fingers can push the button. From week 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, all of his 11 touchdowns from week 6 on. In fact, he only didn't score a touchdown in 2 of those 11 games at the end of the season, which is crazy. And then, of course, he hit almost 4 targets per game in all but 3 of those games. But again, he had touchdowns in almost all of them. So he was the tight end 1 twice. He was the tight end 3 on the week, another 2 times, and then the tight end 5 2 times, the tight end 6, the tight end 7. So even with kind of a low volume of targets, with a low volume of receiving yards most weeks, he was still getting the touchdown. That's really all you need. Now, I think it's safe to assume he's coming in healthy. He should be the number 1, the number 2 target, maybe, if you believe in Zay Flowers outside of the red zone. That's fine. But yeah, he's the guy. And then, of course, you get all those red zone looks. So Mark Andrews for me is an absolute smash at that ADP.
So you went with Jameson Williams with your last pick. I'm kind of worried about those boom bust type of players in this format.
Sure.
But I believe Jameson Williams, is he on his last year of his contract?
It's very close. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think he is, or he might have 2 years left, because I remember going after Tesla, thinking maybe 2027, that could be a decent pick for Dynasty. But Jameson Williams, man, fully healthy, they're going to use him a lot, and he's going to get those deep passes. And like I said with Adams, like, you get those touchdowns, you're going to get that extra first down point.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. Plus, that's what you really need to consider is, right, Amon-Ra is the one there for sure. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be involved, but Sam Laporta wasn't as heavily utilized last year. And I think that has a lot to do with the coming out party of Jameson Williams and everything they were able to do with him. Jameson Williams from week 10 on, he was injured in weeks 8 and 9. When he came back, he had no fewer than 5 targets, but he averaged closer to 7 targets a game. And he had 2 games well over 100 yards, another 3 games over 60 yards. And then, of course, he had 4 touchdowns over that span. But when Laporta wasn't, I believe Laporta was out the first game of the season, or wasn't doing well. In the first 2 games of the season before JMO went down, 9 targets and 11 targets, absolutely dominating. So I don't think he's this game script guy as much as kind of we believed he was 2 years ago. Jameson Williams is here. He's arrived. And if that volume goes up, I think what he did last year's his floor. And if that volume kind of goes up for him, he's absolutely going to smash. So I love him. In the 7th round here, the 8th round, we had Trevor Lawrence at the 801, Pickens, who I was considering at the 701. So I think Pickens is really interesting. You got Godwin, Worthy, Olave, David Montgomery, who's an interesting pick. You went with Calvin Ridley, and you see the rest. Ridley's another volume guy. Talk to us about Calvin Ridley with Cam Ward at quarterback.
So I was thinking of Ridley when I took Andrews, and I love it when the guy falls back to me the next round that I was going to take the previous round. Can't pass him up. Ridley got 1,000 yards last year. Horrible quarterback play. Now he has the 101 in the NFL draft coming in and going to be throwing him the ball. I think he's going to rely on him a ton. It's going to be a safety blanket. He's just going to get all the targets, all the touchdowns, all the yards. Give me Calvin Ridley this late. I think he's a massive value. People are just ignoring him for some reason.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me at all. I think he's absolutely a smash. I really want to take a quarterback here, but I'm going to pass it down. And I'm going to take, God, so ugly. All right, let's do it. Cam Scatterbo. Let's hope that he's the
Ooh,
number
that is,
one
ooh.
in New York. I don't like it. I do like the wide receiver value a little bit better here. Tyrone Tracy should stay involved, but I've heard this, and it makes a lot of sense to me that both running backs, Tyrone Tracy included, should be on the field together because Tyrone Tracy is a former wide receiver. The Giants really don't have anything outside of, can you name the Giants? Jalen Hyatt? Darius Slayton, maybe. I mean, these are their,
Wandale
yeah, Wandale, of
Robinson,
course, but these are their
Theo
options outside of,
Johnson.
yeah, but these are their options outside of Wandale and behind Neighbors. So, I think Tyrone Tracy showed that he's explosive, shows that he kind of belongs on the field, but he also showed that he can fumble the football, and he also showed that he has the ability, not necessarily to carry the load. You get a little scared about it. And then I'm on the clock here, so I'm going to make a gut call. Yikes. Jonnu Smith. But we talk about the tight end production, 3.5 points per reception. Jonnu Smith could be the number one. I don't want to talk about Cam Scatterbo. I do want to talk about Jonnu Smith, Jamie. Jonnu Smith target per separation per player profiler was like number 14 in the league. I think that includes wide receivers. DK Metcalf, any guess where DK Metcalf was in target per separation, in terms of his ranking overall?
I have no idea.
He
Was
was
it low?
He is like 101st, right? So the point is, DK Metcalf, you throw up those 50-50 balls, he's in the red zone, that's fine. But Jonnu Smith can thrive in the red zone, but he also gets separation. So that's why I like him. He's possibly, not likely, but possibly the number one target in Pittsburgh for Aaron Rodgers, who we know, if nothing else, can deliver a short, accurate football as long as he has a couple of seconds, right? He's not what he was, but certainly I like that more so than I like betting on a DK Metcalf throwing the football down the field. You have picked Khalil Shakir. So we had Tyrone Tracy go, Bryce Young, Jerry Jeudy, who I really like as a value.
That's what I was going to take.
Yeah, Colston Loveland, and then Khalil Shakir. Volume. Let's talk about those receivers, Jamie.
Well, with Jerry Jeudy, I know he got a lot of targets. He didn't catch a lot of them. So he's probably more valuable in the MFL format where you get points per target. But, I mean, you're still going to get 140, 150 targets, right? If you catch 90 of them, still volume. So that's why I was going to go after Jeudy. But Shakur, I mean, that's going to be the number one target on the Bills, right?
Yep.
He's going to get those first downs. He's going to get those short yardage plays. He may not get all the touchdowns, but I'm still getting points. We're in the 9th round, right?
Yep.
No, we're at 10th round. No, 9th. Okay, so 9th round. You're still looking for a starter. It's going to be a lower end of your starting roster. But give me Shakur, the number one on a team all day in the 9th round.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think there's a lot of Keon Coleman truthers who are hoping that Coleman's going to break out. You got Elijah Moore now in Buffalo, James Palmer from, I almost said San Diego, from Los Angeles, the Chargers last year coming over as well. And then, of course, you still got the tight ends in town, but Khalil Shakir is the number one target. Khalil Shakir to me is Wandale heavy, right? He's someone who's probably going to get more targets than Wandale, probably do a little bit more with it in a better offense. The interesting thing about Wandale Robinson, he was like number 35 overall in this format last year, simply because he was heavily targeted. He had something like 90 plus receptions. If you believe Khalil Shakir has that in his bag at 2.5 points per reception, he's absolutely going to crush in this format. I love that pick there. Let's talk about a couple of things here. We'll get to Chelsea's Kenneth Walker in a second, but let's go through a few of these. Yeah, robust tight end for me. I love it. I love the way Jamie's board is falling. So let's just have a look again with McBride, Kelsey, and Andrews. That's something I need to heavily consider, especially if you can get guys like Jonnu, Evan Ingram a little bit later. Of course, Zach Ertz is someone who might still even be on the board after we conclude these 12 rounds. So we'll see. Ridley or B-Rob, when you want to take him. at that range. Look, we'll see, but people are running back crazy and they're going to freak out in a super flex in most divisions, I think, when they realize they do not have two quarterbacks. Neither of us do. Sam Laporta, good point. I love Laporta as a value this year. I think he will be involved. The thing is, we just don't know how it's going to shake out. I'm betting on Jameson Williams' explosiveness over Sam Laporta to be the two in that offense, but we'll see what happens. The two in that offense could be Jahmyr Gibbs. We have no clue. But, I'm still betting on all of the Detroit pass catchers. And then, of course, Shakir as a value. Let's jump back here, Jamie, before your next pick. And let's just talk about Kenneth Walker. How are you feeling about Seattle? Let's see. In this particular draft, Walker went at the 3-11. But Chelsea is saying likes him at the end of the third, start of the fourth. Do you like that value on a Walker? Are you a believer? Are you more of a Charbonnet guy? What are you thinking?
I love Walker. They're going to run a zone run scheme, and I think that fits Walker very well compared to a Charbonnet. I was considering Walker over a Kyron, but I couldn't pass up Kyron at the value. If Walker fell back to me, I would have took Walker over Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So I am a big fan of Walker, and I think he's going way too late in all formats.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I do not understand the Walker hate. I mean, the one thing I do understand is people are fed up. It's CMC, right? People are fed up with the injuries. I get it. But when you're this good, you need to make sure that, you bet on that talent. And is it Kubiak from New Orleans now over in Seattle who's running that offense? So I really think that there's a really good chance, like you said, that Kenneth Walker is going to be by far the lead dog. Look, we've seen it before. When Kenneth Walker is healthy, Kenneth Walker is the guy. Multiple coaching staffs have shown us this. He is an absolute freak talent. So that value is insane. Kales likes him too. It's the injuries. So we understand it well, but let's not draft scared. If he stays healthy, like every single running back did last season, he is going to absolutely smash. Jamie, you're up on the clock here at the 10:07 with 20 seconds left. As I recap the 10th round, we've got, I can pause it for you if you need it. Just say the word.
Got it.
All right. Round 10, we got Tucker Kraft, Charbonnet, Cooper Kupp, Josh Downs, Isaiah Likely. Love that pick with Tucker Kraft. Super value. Jordan Mason, CJ Stroud, Ricky Pearsall, and Kyle Pitts, who auto draft stole from me. I absolutely would have taken Kyle Pitts and just banked on his upside in this format. Don't believe in him, but I love the format. I'm going to make my picks here, Jamie, while you tell us about CJ Stroud.
Well, this is a starter right now. 10th round. He's going to hit my starting lineup in the super flex. I got Bo Nix. CJ Stroud, I think he's going to get back more towards his numbers from his rookie year. They upgraded the offensive line. They added tons of receiving weapons for him. They brought in Christian Kirk. They drafted Jalen Noel if something happens to Kirk. And they also got Higgins on the other side of I'm blanking.
Of Nico.
Nico, yeah. So they kind of have a dustier-old running back and Mixon. They did bring in Nick Chubb, another dusty old running back, but they also brought in one of the best pass-catching running backs in this draft class, Woody Marks. Woody Marks is a beast when it comes to pass catching. So they surrounded CJ Stroud. They're setting him up for success, and I think he's going to thrive this year. And that sophomore slump, we're going to be looking back next year and be like, man, we were too low on CJ Stroud. He also has a little bit of rushing. It's more of that getting out of the pocket type of rushing ability, but he can get you like 200, maybe 300 rushing yards a year.
Yeah.
So I like that. This pick, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Well, take your time on it, and we'll recap what's been going on here. So after the pick of CJ Stroud, Pearsall, Pitts, who I love, Javonte Williams, that's a great value for who could be. Look, some people think Miles Sanders, some people think Jaden Blue, who went in the 11th. I think Javonte has the inside track. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Brock Purdy absolutely sniped for me in the 10th round, again by the 11th pick. And I had to go tight end. I love your pick better than both of mine. Mason Taylor still on the board. Should have taken him. But of course, Jake Ferguson, look, I'm rising on Jake Ferguson and his value this year. I think George Pickens actually opens that up for him. And we don't know how much Jaden Blue is going to be used. If it is Miles Sanders on the field most of the time, or Javonte Williams, who can catch the ball for sure. But those guys are aging or have injury concerns. I think Jake Ferguson is the clear-cut 3 for me in this offense that should pass a ton. So I've been rising on him, but in the 10th round, I love that value. And Zach Ertz, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a monster, especially if McLaurin is out. But we are tight end freaks. Talk to me about any or all of these 5 tight ends, Jamie. Kyle Pitts, Ferguson, Ertz, Hunter Henry, who was awesome last year down the stretch with May, and rookie Mason Taylor. What do you like?
So Kyle Pitts, I'm just staying away from. People are holding on to that hope that his rookie year he did 1,000 yards, but it hasn't happened since. Jake Ferguson, 100% agree. He is going to be that 3rd target. There's Jalen Tolbert.
No.
But I don't see Jalen Tolbert getting as many targets as Jake Ferguson. Zach Ertz is who I was looking for, and that's why it took me so long. And then I looked at the board, and you already took him. So great pick with Ertz. Hunter Henry, another guy that's
a good pick.
beast. I mean, they have a rookie in Kyle Williams, and they brought in an older veteran with Diggs, right? So the guy that he has the most rapport with May is going to be Hunter Henry. So I do love the Hunter Henry, but Mason Taylor, man, talk about target consolidation. They may not be the best targets in a lot of them, but he behind Garrett Wilson, who is the second target on the Jets?
I don't know.
In my opinion, it's going to be Mason Taylor.
It's got to be.
Like, I love Mason Taylor. I think he's got the blood in him. He's a willing blocker, which is going to get him on the field. Yep. And I think they're going to use him as the number 2.
Yeah. Listen, it's hard to argue with that. I've heard reports out of OTAs that Josh Reynolds is looking like the 2. Alan Lazard is still there. It's like, who cares? Like, we know who those guys are, right?
Receiver,
yeah. But that's the thing. We know who these guys are. Why not make the bet on the rookie? We don't know who he is. He could be an absolute superstar or featured like one, and he gets an extra point per reception. Sign me up for Mason Taylor, especially in this format, well over those guys, but in any format, really, over those guys. The upside of the rookies is insane. So love that pick there. Let's go through the rest of the 11th round. After Taylor, you had Penix, Anthony Richardson, crazy value pick if that guy plays football. I just don't think he does. We'll see. Mike Gesicki, Brandon Ayuk, Dallas Goedert, Brenton Strange. You see all of the tight ends going off the board. I may take another one before we're done here. Tight end value in this range is really, really interesting. Tucker Kraft was like the 70th overall player. You get him here at the 1001. If I can do some quick math for the 120th or the 108th, whatever the math is there, 108th player off the board for the 70th over player. And maybe he gets better this year. So I think that's a great pick. Mike Gesicki, like we said, scored as well as Josh Downs last year, and some other players, Khalil Shakir. Those guys were in the same range. So really interesting values here. And then we'll go through the 12th round as you make your pick, Jamie. We got Jared Goff at the 1201, Garendo at the 1202, who you referenced earlier. Love that as kind of one of those big name potential guys who can step in and carry the load. Jaden Reed at 1203, Cedric Tillman, Wan'Dale Robinson, absolute steal, 12th, 11th, 10th, any double-digit round, you want to go ahead and get yourself some Wan'Dale, and then Cam Ward goes off the board. I'm probably going to find a QB2 here to wrap things up, but you already have 2 QBs, Jamie. With 15 seconds left, who are you taking here?
I'm taking my man, and I can't pass him up. Usually, I would probably wait another round or 2 to even take him, but just for this mock, and this is our last round, I'm going to take my man, Roquan Johnson. I love it. I like Jaden Reed. I was considering him. I like Tillman. I would have considered him. Now, if I didn't go Roquan, I probably would have went Matthew Golden because he is that downfield threat, like speed. And who else is there that's going to catch balls? Like there's 5 other people. But it just seems like they drafted him too early not to use him.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Or I would even consider Pittman, because when I miss out on Josh Downs, who I really wanted, he got sniped from me when I took Stroud, I think. I usually go Pittman a couple rounds later because he is fully healthy.
Yep.
I mean, with a Daniel Jones throwing him the ball, I think he could get back up, not into that elite tier that we used to think of him as, but he could be in that top 30-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Yeah, Michael Pittman is far too low. I absolutely love that call as well, because we just don't know who the quarterback is going to be, and if Pittman was even fully healthy last year, which it doesn't seem to be since he had a broken back that he never got surgery on. So I love that call here. We have finished our 12 rounds in the Scott Fish Bowl mock draft, so we're going to take a look back. Jamie, I'll start just to give you a little bit of time to just have a look at your team and tell us what you think about it. But with my team, CD, Christian McCaffrey, I'm very happy with those two. Travis Hunter, I don't think I can pass up in the real thing. George Kittle in favor of Travis Hunter. So I certainly will go with the George Kittle there. If he lasts at 301, I don't see it happening, but it did here. Kyler, I don't love, but that rushing upside is insane, especially with Fields and Nix off the board. Drake May, I was considering. You see, he went 2 rounds later. So maybe pushing quarterback is the way to go for me. But Devontae, Travis Etienne, J-Mo. I love those 3 picks there for myself. Cam Scatterbo, I don't love. I probably could have gone maybe a Judy with Jonnu Smith there, maybe gotten my QB2 earlier, but he's got potential, so I don't hate it. But then Jonnu, Ferguson, Ertz, love that trio of tight ends. Those guys I think are probably locked in, assuming health and the fact that they are what we expect them to be. Those 3 guys are probably locked in my lineup, and I got them in the 9th, 10th, and 11th round. So I'm really happy with that. And then Stafford to close it out as my QB2. If he throws 40 touchdowns, I'm feeling good about that value. Overall, I feel like I'm B- territory. We need health, certainly, and we need kind of the guys to expect the Scatterbows and the Hunter to do what we expect them to do. But overall, I feel okay with this draft. Jamie, tell us about your draft.
So I went a lot of volume-based. Let's see, I started round 1 with McBride, then Kamara and Kyron. Those 2 running backs, they're going to get all the looks in their backfield. Bo Nix, rushing quarterback. I love going after rushing quarterbacks in this format. Travis Kelce, I think he's going to step up again and become a top 5. Then Evans is the only one that I'm not really loving.
Yeah.
But then again, those touchdowns, I couldn't pass it up at that spot there. I wish Aaron Jones might have fell to me, or even like a Njoku or a Sutton. I would have rather had those guys. But Andrews, again, I think he's going to continue being one of the top targets in that offense. Ridley, volume, safety blanket, secure, same thing. CJ Stroud, he's going to step back up, get back to his rookie season. I don't think he's going to be a top 5, but top 10.
Yeah,
I can see it happening. Mason Taylor, I think he's going to come in right away and be the number 2 target behind Wilson. Then, of course, Roshan. So, fun fact about Roshan, he was top 10 in points per opportunity last year. So every opportunity that he got, he was top 10. And he also had the number 1 most stacked boxes against him. I think 6.8 per game.
Love that stat.
Per snap. But yeah, so I think if they use him more opportunity, and if he was top 10 in points per opportunity, give him more opportunity, he's going to jump up. But yeah, that's my team. I give it, because I got sniped so much, I can't give it more than a B. So 86.2.
Yeah, definitely B+ material, pushing A- over here with those 3 tight ends. Those tight ends are the guys that you want. Well, 4 tight ends, sorry. McBride, Kelce, Andrews, those 3 tight ends at value are the tight ends that you want. And then why not just throw the cherry on top with Mason Taylor? Insane. I absolutely love that. Of course, we're not skimping on the high volume running backs at the top either. So I love that. Jamie, have a look at the rest of the board. Again, I'll go first. But pick a team or two to talk about. I'll talk about the 106 who kept sniping you. If we just look at these running backs, Gibbs, Taylor, Cook, Travion Henderson, who I love. I'm a Patriots homer. At the same time, this guy can pass block. He's going to get on the field immediately. He's going to have minimum 40 receptions, but probably closer to 60 receptions in his first season, depending on how well Drake May can check the ball down. He proved last year he does that pretty well already. We'll see how he evolves. And of course, we have what's the name of the offensive coordinator? I love to forget. Back in New England, McDaniels, of course, is back. We know what he does with running backs out of the backfield in the passing game. Travion Henderson is going to be a monster, I think. And then I love RJ Harvey there. Of course, we stack Trey Henderson with Drake May. Love it. Montgomery, Najee Harris, who I was considering when I took Scatabo. So I love that. Jordan Mason, who I think is going to be a monster. This team I absolutely love for volume. The problem I have is I think we are counting on all these guys to stay a little too healthy. That said, we're not playing scared. I love that. It's super interesting to see how many running backs, or conversely, how few running backs you can take and get away with it. Something that's interesting to consider is over here. I don't know if I'm stealing yours, Jamie. Hopefully not. The 102. But you start out with Josh Allen. Then outside of Kenneth Walker, and you're just taking his handcuff basically, and then another handcuff. You're just going all wide receivers. But why not Amon-Ra, Tyreek Hill, who's undervalued at the moment, DJ Moore, who I think is undervalued at the moment. We're all assuming it's going to be Rome. It's going to be Loveland maybe stepping, maybe Burden. Right, DJ Moore, I think, is a really interesting value there for the volume that he could still get, even though Ben Johnson seems to hate him. But then you mentioned Cortland Sutton, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs. So it's interesting the way that you can go volume heavy at wide receiver, at running back, at tight end, as you have done as well. There's so many different ways to build, but I like those teams and the way they kind of approach this draft. Any one or two teams that stick out for you, Jamie?
Yeah, I like the 101 a lot. His first 3 picks are amazing. You got Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, like volume. That's what I keep saying. Sam Laporta, I probably would have went a different route, but I don't hate it. And Swift, Swift is undervalued, man. I know he's been rising up draft boards, and I'm a Roshan fan, but first, Swift is going to get a lot of the carries and the targets. And until he gets hurt, I don't think you can fade him. People are disrespecting him. I remember getting him in like the 9th round, 8th round of best ball leagues, and now you have to get him in like the 5th or 6th round. So I don't hate that. Tyler Warren, he is a rookie, and I think he's going to get a lot of targets, especially if Daniel Jones is the quarterback.
100%.
But after that, I'm not a big fan of any picks after all those, but I do like the top part of that draft. Same with the 111. So he went with sniped you and Daniel. Love the Derrick Henry pick.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Kittle's my number 1 tight end this year.
Stud.
Because last year he outscored on a per game basis McBride and Bowers.
Sure did.
The fact that does he stay healthy? Judkins, I think he's going to get the majority of the rushes, even though it's a bad team. And like we said, volume is king. He's going to get all the volume. Garrett Wilson, 100% underrated in every single draft that I have. He must be my most owned player just because he falls to me and so late. It's ridiculous.
Makes no sense.
Caleb, I love the Caleb pick. I love the Engram pick. I love the Juwan Jennings pick. I was hoping he would fall back to me. And even the last 4 picks, I don't hate them. I probably would have went a different route on all 4 of those. But besides Purdy, because I was looking at Purdy. But I like those teams.
Purdy absolutely sniped for me. Hate that. Let's give a shout out to the 104 as well. Love this draft. Barkley, Irving. You got Fields and Mayfield. Look, you might be able to wait on Fields in a mock. I don't know if you can wait on Fields in the real deal. People are going to be eyeing him up. The 309, I do not hate the value, even though the ADP will not reflect it. So do not sleep on Justin Fields for this year. Baker Mayfield backing it up. Look, you got 2 locked in quarterbacks in a super flex league. And then after those 2 stud running backs, you got Rashi, you got Njoku, Flowers, Worthy, Myers, Downs. We're talking about volume. All of these guys have the potential to be the one on their team, at least in terms of the wide receiver room. Myers isn't going to, beat out Bowers or anything. Worthy might not beat out Kelsey, but all of these guys have the opportunity for volume at the wide receiver position. And then Gesicki, we talked about his season last year. He was like the 90th overall player with what he was able to do in this scoring format last year. Now, look, T. Higgins goes down for an extended period. Jamar Chase, Gesicki is a reliable piece, and Yoshivas and whoever else they have there in Cincinnati to receive targets aren't going to be really much ahead of Gesicki in terms of the trust that Burrow has. And then Cedric Tillman, who is the darling of the offseason, it appears. He's got all the talent in the world. Can he put it together with a guy who is not, on the right side of 40 and with a guy who's not Jameson Williams? I think it's possible. I still believe in Joe Flacco's arm, which has been an absolute cannon his whole career. So I do like Cedric Tillman there from the Jasonator. Look, we had an amazing draft. We had a lot of fun here for the Scott Fish Bowl. We appreciate you joining us. This will be posted out on social media here on the Fantasy Football Universe. And of course, we are Adjust the Ranks. So before we go, Jamie, do you have any final thoughts about Scott Fish? I know that live drafts are kicking off tomorrow. They have the Podathon, which you should run over and watch that now. What are you thinking about how this is all going to shake out for you in 24 hours?
Okay, so Scott Fish, you can't go into the draft thinking you're going to win because there's over 4,000 people in this draft.
Yeah.
You aren't going to win. I'm not going to win. Whoever's listening to this isn't going to win. So just go in there, have fun doing it. It's all about the community and the camaraderie of people in your leagues. Like I said, we aren't going to win. So go out there and meet people. Today, I met someone in my draft that said where he was from. And I'm like, I'm from the same area. And then it turns out he's 5 minutes down the street from me.
Nice.
He used to work for the Cleveland Indians and the Cleveland Cavs as a producer. And now he is the vice president of WWE for their live events.
Awesome.
So it's all about meeting people and getting involved in the community, giving back, and just having fun. Go take Roshan 101.
100%. And as you mentioned, the community, of course, the Podathon, Fantasy Cares, everything that they're doing over there to raise money for charitable causes. Of course, Toys for Tots, dozens of other organizations that money is going to as well. If you don't want to just straight up donate, that's fine. You can go ahead on Fantasy Cares and buy merch. There's plenty of really awesome merch that they're creating this year and other ways to get involved. So please do that. I mean, this is above everything else, like you mentioned, the community, the charity, and just kind of supporting things. That said, and you're right, we're not going to win. We still want to win. So that's what we're going to try to do. You play to win the game, right, Herm? So we do everything to try and win the game. But yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's cool to be involved in the community, and we appreciate this. If you're watching this live, only a few of you are, but this will be all over the socials, so we'll blast it out. We'll get you to watch it. Hopefully, this provided some value for you. It at least provided a little bit of value for other people who are watching right now. So we appreciate everybody joining us. We appreciate everybody in the draft, etc. So for Jamie, I am Jeremy. This has been Adjust the Ranks. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next time.
Mock, yeah, ing, yeah, bird, yeah, 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 mockingbird.